Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Insights and Innovation series for this wonderful Monday. We've got a fantastic guest. Remy Barker is our guest. She is the Director of Insights and Innovation, or Director of Innovations. Maybe I'm just adding insights in there as well, Remy, I'm not quite sure, from Powered. And we are going to be in for a hell of a ride today. There's going to be more content coming at you than you know what to do with. So it's a Powered Predicts 2025, and there is nine big tips or big predictions, and we're going to go through all of them. So grab a sandwich, hop in the seat, make yourself comfortable, put a cup of tea on. I'm going to hand over to Remy, who's going to take things over because there's a bit of content to get through. Remy, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you for that great introduction. As you introduced me as well, the light dimmed even further in this room, so I look like I'm sat in a bit of a dark cave. So I might just turn these back up and hope for the best. Awesome. So nice to virtually see lots of people joining the session. So I'm going to be talking you through our Powered Predicts document today, which is our future forecast for the year ahead. So this is our big trends piece. And you guys are actually the first who are getting access to seeing this. So we are only just starting to roll this out in market. So it's very much fresh content. And look, I guess the first thing to call out is we do get it. There are a lot of trend documents out there. So what actually makes this piece different? So at Powered, we really pride ourselves on knowing kind of the big cultural forces that are really impacting the year ahead. We've looked at lots of other trend reports, and we've also run our own survey across the nation as well. So there's a lot of data behind these trends that we're sharing with you today. And we want to make sure that obviously these trends are influencing brands and advertisers as well. And there's some clear implications for how to use these trends too. So we very much focus on the trends that are designed to challenge our perspectives and inspire us to think about things in a slightly different way. And also not only why we share the trends that are backed by evidence, but we actually do break them down and show some examples of brands who are playing in those spaces, and we pull out some implications for you and your brands to consider as well. So it's really about giving you conversational currency, things to talk about, and also things that you can incorporate into your strategies as well. So hopefully, these will be some great slides and trends for you to utilize moving forward. So this year we have 9 cutting edge trends. So as Sam said, lots of content in here. And what we're going to do is I'll start just talking through the trends. Hopefully we will make it through all 9, but there is a lot in there. So we'll see how we go. But would love as we go through each of these for you to think about, which trends are most relevant to the brands you work on, and where might some of those opportunities be. So I'm not going to touch on them in too much detail on this one because we'll jump straight in and start going through each of the trends themselves. So the first trend we're going to talk about is perfection rejection. So this trend is really about kind of a direct response to years of hyper curated social media images. So those unrealistic beauty standards and the pressure to present that idealized version of life. Things like filters, face-tuned, all of that staged content that we've seen quickly become the norm. Actually, we're seeing audiences really start to reject that. So they're looking for something more raw, more real, and far more relatable as well. So specifically amongst younger generations, so Gen Z very much leading the charge, looking for that unfiltered content, body positivity messaging, and brands that embrace flaws over airbrushed ideals. So, the idea of rejecting perfection, it's not just about aesthetics and how you look. It's actually more of a deeper cultural shift towards transparency, self-acceptance, and the idea of breaking free from those outdated societal expectations. So we saw this start to come to fruition in 2024. So we had things like the rise of Brat Girl, which was really about kind of bringing back that party girl image that's really kind of reflective of a very real and authentic view. Well, we're actually looking for 2025 to see that messy mindset pushed even further. So really embracing realism, imperfection across not just fashion, but lots of different areas of their lives. So, you just have to really follow Celeste Barber to see how much Australians really enjoy having that reality check and actually poking a bit of fun at that perfect image as well. So what does that actually mean? Well, we're seeing that idea of rejecting perfection come to life across lots of areas of life. So as we said, it's not just fashion. We're seeing it come to life in baking. So chaos cakes and silly cake searches are on the rise, which is all about kind of embracing those smash cakes and those kind of chaotic baking constructions, I guess you could call them. To even infiltrating things like interior design. So dopamine decor, cluttercore, cozy maximalism. It's all about kind of that mismatch of throwing different elements together. And again, still coming to life through that fashion lens as well. So that idea of like lived in fashion, grungy fashion, Julia Fox kind of leading that anti-it girl style. So she's really kind of focused on embracing those controversial outfit choices. She has her show OMG Fashion, which is really about celebrating imperfect outfits that feel a little bit chaotic and push the boundaries of what constitutes as fashion, as well, as you'll see from that picture on the left. I think what's really important when it comes to perfection rejection is that it's actually consumers who are demanding that same level of raw authenticity from brands. So we know that 76% trust companies more when they admit mistakes or show transparency. So the implication is really about brands starting to embrace imperfection. So no longer about kind of coloring within the lines, tying it neatly in a bow, forget those pristine, polished campaigns that we all know and love. Actually, how do we push the boundaries and lean into that idea of imperfection, lean into a bit of spontaneity, lean into a bit of realism in our advertising? So how can brands start to do that and actually join consumers in that rejection of perfection? Because I think we're so used to like that pre-created content that has kind of that shiny aesthetic to it. How do we start to reflect the type of content that consumers want to see more of from brands? So a few examples of brands that are embracing imperfection. So I think Specsavers is a great example of this one, just in terms of, they have their tagline, should have gone to Specsavers. And that's really like about actually a strategy that's built on dramatizing the need for a good pair of specs by actually advertising mistakes. So their whole advertising strategy is really about dramatizing the mistakes that people make when they don't have a good pair of glasses. So this was just one example from last year where they did their parking slip up in Edinburgh, which caused a lot of shareability on socials, but they do it in a lot of channels, just kind of adding a bit of chaos to the mix in terms of showing those mistakes more clearly. The second example is from Doritos. So I'm actually not going to play the whole video for this one, but you may have seen it. It was their Super Bowl spot where they actually asked fans to create the ad for them. So they're essentially taking, the biggest stage in advertising history, and they're putting the power into the hands of the fans to create that content for them. So they asked them to make the ad, and then they asked the fans to vote for the ad as well. So kind of used a bit of humor and creativity. It's kind of playing on that alien conspiracy theory. And it was actually something that, got a lot of traction with fans online as well. So instead of, creating that big spot, they used fan content in the Super Bowl. And then the final example is we can't really talk about perfection rejection without referencing Ryanair's social media account. So if anyone has followed them or seen their content, you would know that they add a little bit of personality to their customer service. So they're not about giving you kind of the perfect, curated, correct answer. They are a little bit more tongue-in-cheek in their approach and how they respond as well. And that's kind of gained fame for them in its own right. So they're really known for that social content. So how can brands better embrace imperfection? Well, there's kind of a few questions you should be asking yourself. So first and foremost, how can you get real with your advertising and content? So how can you remove that polished ad aesthetic and embrace fabulous flaws in UGC and think about kind of that real world view? And even just really simply thinking about how real people use your brand. So if we truly put ourselves in the shoes of those consumers, we will find real and human ways to show up as a brand that really do connect with people as well. So that's our first trend, all about perfection rejection. The second trend that we're going to chat through is factory reset. So factory reset is actually more about people's attitudes and views towards health and towards kind of looking after themselves both physically and aesthetically as well. So this trend is all about forgetting, anti-aging creams and fad diets. Aussies are actually hitting factory reset on their bodies and leveling up their biohacking. So things like cutting edge techniques and technologies that help them rewind the clock and regain that youthful vitality. So it's really about kind of taking that task of remaining young and youthful to the next level. So I'm sure a lot of you will have probably seen the news at the end of last year around Lindsay Lohan, Christina Aguilera, and Demi Moore. Most people asking, what's she had done, I'll have what she's having kind of mentality. These ladies seem to be defying time and not just stopping the clock, but actually turning it back decades and literally looking like they did in their 20s. So we're seeing this kind of renewed focus on how can I hold on to my youth, whether it be from a looks perspective or from an energy and health perspective for as long as possible. So the evidence, so where are we seeing this show up? So we know that celebrities have very much always looked for ways to remain younger, but this is the first time we're really starting to see this extend out into everyday Aussies who are leading into this trend. So there are 75% of us actively hunting for more personalized health solutions. So things like customized nutrition plans, to genetic testing, to hormone optimization, and even cellular rejuvenation. So we're starting to get really experimental with our health, which is really interesting. And then we're also seeing a rising interest in biohacking. So 900% increase in Google searches for biohacking in the past 90 days, which in part might be driven down to, if you've not seen this guy's documentary, Brian Johnson, who released his Netflix documentary, Don't Die, at the beginning of January. He is kind of the epitome of the extreme version of biohacking. So he is literally taking hundreds of pills a day. He's even gone as far as injecting his 17-year-old son's blood into his veins. Yes, it is creepy. But he's kind of this guinea pig in the biohacking world of testing a lot of this new technology, a lot of these new cutting edge techniques and reporting back on the impact that they have as well. So fascinating from a, I guess, just a general interest in health and a focus on kind of well-being. But actually kind of we're seeing that infiltrate beyond just billionaires alone to everyday people wanting to experiment a little bit more with their health, wanting to better understand their biometrics, wanting to get a better view of their own situation and to optimize that to the ultimate level. So for brands, what does that actually mean? It's really about exploring how you can help people look and feel more physically youthful. So whether that be through things like product innovation, more personalized health programs and advice, or even like looking at how you can use their own data to help them optimize their health journey as well. So a few brands that are doing this and helping people reset. So Aura is a great example of this. So Aura are the smart ring company, and they're really investing in women's health and promoting body literacy for women. So a lot of women, a lot of medical research is actually not done into women's bodies. So only 4% of medical research is specifically looking at women's bodies. And as such, they're kind of looking to pioneer and lead the way in women's health. So they're actively producing new features such as pregnancy insights, which actually helps women understand kind of their biometrics in their body as they go through some of these changes. So there's a real opportunity here in terms of actually, Aura accessing a huge amount of women's health data and then helping to provide insights and medical research into this space as well, which is fascinating. The second one we've got is products like the professional biohacker set by a company called Lifecycle. So they're really driving the hype for medicinal mushrooms. And they're all about kind of promising peak performance and wellness. So you get your kind of medicinal mushroom mix, you add it to your morning smoothie, and it helps you kind of regain focus, get more energy, lots of different positive health benefits. So this isn't something that's just happening up in Byron Bay. We are seeing this start to expand out and be more widely adopted as well. And then finally, the other example we've got is Upgrade Labs. So these are kind of described to be unlike any gym you've ever experienced. So they're really, these are in the States, but we're seeing a lot of this start to come to Australia as well. So gyms not just being about physical health equipment, but actually incorporating things like infrared saunas, cryotherapy, cold water therapy, red light therapy, things that actually help you to maintain your overall well-being and health beyond just physicality alone. So really kind of recreating what that traditional gym or health club experience looks like. So how can brands help people reset? So I think think about actually how can you help people hack their way to healthy? Are there kind of cheat sheet opportunities or ways that you can kind of help educate them on things that they could be doing? And can you help people try before you buy? Like a lot of this stuff is quite experimental and looking for alternative solutions. So actually just helping educate people or helping people trial these new solutions is really important. I apologize, I'm moving very much at speed. So if anyone needs me to slow down, please just let me know, but I am gonna keep powering through. So the third trend we've got is new nostalgia. So we know that nostalgia and that kind of yearning for the past is nothing new, but what has changed is just how far away that past we're yearning for is. So this is a trend driven by a generation who are seeking comfort in the recent past. So romanticizing the cultural moments, the aesthetics, and the media of their childhood, even if that only happened a decade ago. So this is really kind of a response to the world moving at breakneck speed and Gen Z and young millennials aching for those pop culture moments that defined their youth in the 90s and early 2000s. This nostalgic resurgence really reflects the economic challenges currently being faced by young people who are struggling to grow up financially, and as a result are kind of defaulting to that Peter Pan mindset, seeking comfort in the past and looking back to the things that once felt safe, simple, and familiar. So this is really about people getting a sense of security from the things that provided them comfort in their youth. And those things, you know, not being back in the 70s, but only being a decade ago. So it's all about young people embracing the things that they grew up with and now reinterpreting them through the lens of adulthood. So we're seeing this come to life in lots of different ways. So things like the upcoming Polly Pocket movie, which is set to follow in Barbie's footsteps in terms of size and popularity. We're seeing things like interior design, so primary play interiors, which is that trend of bringing back bold colors, whimsical childlike patterns to interior decor. And even coming through in things like personal expression. So things like charms making a comeback kind of adds that little bit of childhood magic. And, you know, we're now at a point where you can enjoy charms and friendship bracelets, whether you're 10 or 35. Like, it's absolutely okay to enjoy and embrace those things. Tay made it very, very clear that you could do that at any age. So what are the implications for brands when it comes to new nostalgia? So it's really about brands being able to look back, but to do it with some form of purpose. So consumers are craving that authenticity, not just repackaged nostalgia. So how do we make sure we avoid nostalgia washing and instead find ways to tap into the past in a way that feels more meaningful, more personal, and more real for them? So yeah, no, we have to remember it's not just about remembering better times, it's about bringing them a feeling of comfort and security today. So how are some brands doing that? So we're seeing things like the return of iconic Aussie mags like Girlfriend, which reflects that craving for a simpler time. When the sealed section was the most controversial news of the week. We're seeing brands reverting to some of their older nostalgic creatives. So Weet-Bix Kids making a comeback. So it's kind of bringing back to life that Aussie Kids are Weet-Bix Kids campaign, but using Mary Fowler as their new brand ambassador and certified Weet-Bix Kids. So adding a new spin on something that feels very familiar. And then finally, Heineken. They brought back the brick, that boring phone, which was kind of a response to people wanting to digital detox. So it was a phone with like limited functionality to get people off their screens and out celebrating or engaging with others and celebrating kind of the old school mobiles of the 2000s. So how can brands help with winding back the clock? It's really about kind of getting clear on who your audience are and the core trends from their childhood. So, were they kids of the 90s who loved Tamagotchis, Beanie Babies, and mood rings? Or were they kids of the noughties who loved flip phones, low-rise jeans, and MTV music videos? So once you really know the trends that resonate with them, you can think about how you can tap into those trends to provide that sense of comfort and security. You can also explore different formats. Was there a program, a property, or a format that was really loved by your audience that disappeared? Could you bring that back to life or leverage kind of the tried and tested formula that they know and love, but reinvented in a new way? So the next trend that we've got for you is Shop the Show, which is all about kind of the accessibility of e-commerce. So what we're finding is when we look into this space, kind of there's really this kind of eradication of a shopping mindset. So it used to be that we were either in market or we were out of market for a product. Actually, lines are completely blurred in this space now. Actually, life is a shopping experience. You can, with things like Google Lens, you can now shop items from anywhere at any time. You don't necessarily need to be in market for that product. So we're really always primed to purchase from the moment we make up until the moment we go to sleep. And we're really seeing this infiltrate the entertainment space. So we're seeing a lot of consumers actively shopping for items that they are being exposed to in entertainment properties. So really kind of blurring that line between binging and buying. So how are we seeing that come to life? So I guess in terms of the actual evidence, we've seen 75% of people searching for a product online after they've seen it in a show, and 57% of those have followed up and actually made a purchase. And with the rise of things like second screening, we know that consumers aren't just waiting for the show to end before they make their purchase. 17% have actively made a purchase during the show that they're watching. So we know this kind of ingrained second screening shopping behavior is becoming more and more natural for consumers. So there's a real opportunity here for brands to look for deeper, more seamless e-commerce integration opportunities, especially across entertainment content as well. So how can we help consumers to actively shop the show? A few examples of this in action. So first and foremost, one of the biggest global examples that we've seen of this is Netflix's partnership with Google Lens for Emily in Paris. So obviously key to Emily in Paris or key to the Emily in Paris storyline is very much kind of her fashion and her wardrobe. And this was really about actively helping viewers to be able to shop her wardrobe as well. So it was really kind of tapping into the show's contextual themes of fashion to help people be able to search for the products that she's wearing in the show. Of course, we have some great examples of this. So we've done some great work with The Block and e-commerce. Actually, I'll see if this video will play. Oh, no lock on that one, but I'll send it through. So essentially it is shoppable entertainment with a recent example from a partnership with Catch.com, which leveraged the Block talent Carla and Cara and gave them shoppable ad formats that was run across streaming on 9Now. And then finally, we've got Amazon's affiliate program, which has become increasingly integrated with affiliate influencer video content now being completely shoppable. So it's no longer just about kind of the product that's in their hand. That's not the only thing being sold. It's actually the sofa that the affiliates are sat on. It's the cup that they're drinking out of, and it's even the drink itself. So all of this is available for viewers to instantly purchase. So how can you help people shop the show? So first and foremost, think about, can you place your products in amongst the action? Like, where is the right environment for product placement of those assets within entertainment properties? And then think about the types of formats that you're using. Actually, could you be better integrating and using shoppable ad formats and making sure that there's kind of creative ways for you to integrate your product into those formats as well? The next trend we're going to talk about is age blending. So age blending is really about kind of challenging that notion of age-appropriate behaviors. And, there's the saying, age is just a number. Well, this trend is all about proving that. This trend is about throwing out the rule book when it comes to what is considered age-appropriate. And it's about celebrating a world where hobbies, interests, and lifestyles are no longer dictated by birth date. So the rise of age blending is really in response to shifting cultural attitudes that reject outdated notions of what's appropriate at any stage of your life. So, traditional milestones are blurring, people are living longer, they're living healthier lives. And that really means that the idea that certain interest styles or behaviors belong to a specific age group is simply outdated. Age blending is about celebrating this intergenerational mashup that's breaking down stereotypes and creating a more vibrant and inclusive society where everyone can be their authentic selves, no matter their age. So it's time to really kind of throw out the rule book on age-appropriate behavior and give ultimately the people what they want. So 88% of Aussies believe connection is about shared values, not age, and 86% say age gaps are irrelevant. What matters is actually how you relate to that person. So those lines between generations are blurring. We've got young people getting into gardening, knitting, bread baking, and older generations embracing their adventurous side. So they're traveling, they're clubbing, they're dating, and they're even creating content on social as well. We've done a lot of work into this audience. We also have a piece called Super Consumers that looks at the over 50s and some of the stereotypes and biases that they're breaking as well. In terms of the younger audience, Tom Daley is a great example of this. So he's obviously the Olympic diver, and he went on to create Made with Love, which was his very own knitwear fashion company, which introduced a whole new generation to knitting and crocheting as well. So this is really about blurring the lines in terms of hobbies and interests across different ages. So the implication here, we're actually calling it kind of death to demos. So brands can no longer rely on traditional age brackets to define their audience. Instead, it's about connecting with consumers through their shared values, interests, and attitudes. Because at the end of the day, age is a number, and we're connecting with people in new ways than ever before across those shared values and interests. Again, a few examples of how brands are doing this. So the first example that we have, and I won't play the videos for these just because they are a little bit long, but you can watch them at your own leisure. The first example is from Magnum, who partnered with Iris Apfel for their Never Stop Playing campaign. And this campaign was really about kind of being authentic and true to who you are and really embracing the art of play, no matter your age, and being able to feel liberated and fearless in indulging in those things that you really love. The second example is from JD Williams. So this is also in our super consumer deck. I just love this campaign because it's really about challenging the stereotypes amongst an older female audience. So they explicitly call out some of the stereotypes and bias that women of a certain age experience, and they challenge those head on in terms of the types of clothes they wear, their attitudes, their sexuality. It's really a celebration of kind of breaking down those barriers. And then the final example is the Innocent Smoothies campaign in the UK, which is called The Big Knit, where they knit hats for smoothie bottles each year. And this has been going for quite some time, but what we've seen is there's a real increase in younger audiences participating in this project as well. So actively knitting those hats, with all of the proceeds going towards Age UK, so all for a good cause as well. So how can brands embrace age blending? So first and foremost, it's really about reviewing your approach to targeting. So, not just focusing on demos, but looking at interest-based targeting to connect with consumers more meaningfully. And then thinking about what are those age-appropriate stereotypes that exist? Are there particular stereotypes that your brand could really help bust? Could you break down those barriers around specific hobbies or tackle bigger issues like sexuality and sensuality head on? Like, is there something that you can really kind of hang your hat on and own as a brand, to really challenge some of those preconceived views of what is age appropriate? Sorry, I'm just going to have a little drink. Okay, awesome. So we're on to trend number 6, which is sentient sidekicks. So naturally, we couldn't get through a trends presentation without some reference to AI. And this trend is really kind of more about our relationship with AI than anything before. So we are starting to see, people forge stronger connections with digital entities. And what that means is that AI is evolving. So it's not simply a helpful tool anymore. It's actually becoming a bit of a companion and a friend to many people. So whilst not technically sentient, so sentient means that it is able to actively feel emotions and human-like emotions. It's not technically sentient, but what it is able to do is it's starting to feel more sentient. So it's starting to show awareness and mindfulness of our emotions, and it's starting to grow increasingly responsive to our needs and our feelings as well. So it's starting to feel more like a friend that understands us than just simply a tool that we're using to search for answers. And that means that really AI's role is changing. It's not just helping us in a professional capacity, it's helping us in personal ways more than ever before. So it's really about building up that relationship that we have with the tech, which is, quite scary in lots of ways as well. Like, it does feel a little bit creepy, but we are seeing evidence of this happening. So obviously, Aussies are leaning in to actively using AI, but actively using it in different ways than we may expect as well. So we've seen 64% of Gen Zs are actively using AI for personal reasons versus only 15% for professional reasons. And we're seeing ChatGPT be that tool of choice for them. When it comes to actually looking at what they're querying and searching for on ChatGPT, we are seeing those queries kind of skew towards philosophical and existential questions, looking for personal advice and emotional support, and also testing out hypothetical scenarios. So, they're not just using it to search for a very clear question and answer scenario. They're actually looking for it to provide comfort and advice and support to them, which is a little bit scary, to be honest. So we think that there is an opportunity here for brands. Obviously, you have to be careful playing in this space, but actually thinking about, can we leverage AI companions to forge deeper connections with consumers? So could we actually create an AI ambassador, for example, that gives our brand a little bit more of a human-like personality? A few examples of how AI is being used in action. So first and foremost, don't know if anyone's heard of Replica before. So Replica is an app that specializes in creating AI companions. So over 10 million people have joined the platform to date. And actually, the app has already faced its first piece of controversy. So in Italy, so how the app works is essentially you're able to select if you're looking for a friend or if you're looking for a boyfriend or girlfriend. And in Italy, limitations were actually applied to the app because there were complaints that the conversations were coming on a little bit strong and a little bit sexualized. So actually they set restrictions on the app, and then they saw outroar from some of the app users who felt like they'd lost their partner. because it really just showed the level of relationship that people thought that they had with these digital companions. They felt like they knew them as people, and when they removed some of the language that they were used to them using, they felt really disconnected from them, which is just really shows the type of relationship that they were having. In a slightly less creepy example, we have Meta, who introduced AI Studio, where creators and brands can make their own generative AI agents or avatars. And these act as representatives for them on their behalf. So they interact with people via messages to promote products, services, and ultimately help influencers to manage their jobs and their brand identity on their behalf. And then the final example is a campaign that was run by Nike, which is their Never Done Evolving campaign. So this leveraged AI and machine learning to create a virtual match between Serena Williams and herself. So it took her play game from the Grand Slam in 1999, and then her last game in 2017, and it modeled her different playing styles across the eras, and actually created a match where it was Serena versus Serena. So this simulated match was broadcast on YouTube, and it reached 1.7 million subscribers. Not only that, but this digitized version of Serena became actually a training coach for others who were looking to learn tennis as well. So you could actively learn to play from Serena, which is pretty cool. So how can you start to use AI in your comms? So I guess it's worth thinking about, could you create an AI brand agent or ambassador to reflect your brand and add more human-like personality? Or could you even lead the conversation on the impact of AI? There are so many rapid advancements happening in this space. Actually just kind of getting involved in the conversation, participating and leading in that conversation is really important as well. So it could be that you're actively using AI to create agents, but it could be that you're more positioning yourself as a leader in bringing those advancements to the nation as well. So I'm conscious that we don't have too much time left, and there are 3 trends. So I might headline these trends so that we get through all 9, but very much happy to take questions and to share some of this content too, if there is anything that you want to dive into in a bit more detail. The 7th trend is the Great Divide, which is all about kind of this growing cultural and ideological split in Australia. Now, we know that division in Australia isn't necessarily anything new, but we are seeing things like the rising cost of living, housing affordability, wage stagnation. All of this stuff is deepening class divisions and creating a bit more of a contrast between the haves and have-nots. And we're seeing 77% of Australians feeling Australia is divided on some of those key political, economic and social issues. What that means is that people are increasingly polarised on an array of topics, and that social media chambers are often reinforcing those existing beliefs rather than bridging perspectives. So we're seeing things like a rising backlash against typically woke culture and campaigns, with signals of a bit more of a shift back towards conservatism. What this is doing is it's making it increasingly feel like a bit of a minefield for brands who want to take a stand or have a point of view on certain topics. Does that mean that brands shouldn't take a stand? Absolutely not. We think it's really important that brands do take a stand on topics that are important to them. We know there is a lot of risk in this space, but the rewards can be far greater when it's done with authenticity. So what we're really noticing is, that term woke has become a little bit of a dirty word. And the reason for that is that it is a word that has quite often been misused or used to call out inauthentic activism. So when people feel like brands aren't actively doing it because they care about the topic, but they're doing it more to gain traction or support around a certain topic. So what that means is that actually, this is why we're seeing brands like Woolies get boycotted last year for their removal of Australia Day items, and then they also get boycotted this year when they return those items back to shelves. This isn't about not acting, but it's about acting with authenticity and consistency when it comes to what you're talking about. And this is really important because we know 64% of Australians are more likely to buy from brands that take a stand on social issues that matter to them. So it is very much important for Australians to have brands that support social issues, but performative gestures just won't cut it anymore. It's about authentically taking a stand on the things that matter most to you as a brand and not being afraid to polarize or even lose consumers because of it. So the implication here is really about brand activism is important, but only if it's real. Consumers can spot that empty virtue signaling from a mile away. So if you're going to take a stand, do it with authenticity or don't do it at all. So again, we've got a few examples here that you might know. Ben & Jerry's, who continue to advocate for change, and then the Orange Champion women's football spot that went viral last year, and then an example from Lego in terms of product innovation. So really, it's about finding a cause that your brand is passionate about and being brave enough to take a stand authentically and consistently as well. So I am conscious it is 12:45, so feel free to jump in and cut me off if I'm taking up too much time. But if not, I'll whiz through the last two trends and just give you a bit of an overview. So trend number 8 is reinventing the remix. And this is all about kind of remixing beyond just genre or style. It's about completely reinventing the genre and style altogether. Really kind of think unexpected collaborations and mashups that push creative boundaries and that make you stop in your tracks and think, wow, whoever mentioned this in the initial campaign meeting is a wild card genius. Who would have thought of that? So it's really about kind of celebrating experimentation, challenging people's expectations, and inviting us to experience pop culture in entirely new ways. So those unexpected novelty collaborations and partnerships are really the ones that are cutting through. And we're seeing this happen a lot more. So more budget is being allocated to brand collabs and embracing those marketing and pop culture mashups. And we're seeing things like Wicked, which came out last year, actually integrate and work with over 70 brand collaborators across different categories. So things like fashion, beauty, tech, food, drink, homes goods, and lots more. So it's really about kind of serving up the brand to a range of different niches to reach all corners of culture. So what's the implication here? It's really about embracing the remix, turning on shuffle mode and seeing what interesting and exciting mashups you can embrace that will surprise and delight consumers, drive talkability, and ultimately build brand fame. So it's all about reaching new audiences, new untapped audiences that traditionally wouldn't be consumers of your product or service, but have an affinity for the remix collaborator or partner that you're working with. A few examples here. Definitely go in and watch the video of Michael Cera and CeraVe if you haven't seen it. It's epic. Things like Sally Hansen nail polishes partnering with basketball in the US. And then Airbnb and Polly Pocket, just an example there as well. So really thinking about unexpected novelty partnerships and surprising and delighting consumers to bring a bit of joy to their day. And then the final trend that we're going to chat through is the AI arena. So again, another trend on AI, but specifically looking at how AI and tech is revolutionizing how we experience sports and making viewing more interactive and personalized than ever before. So things like real-time game analysis, AI-generated commentary, custom highlights, AR replays. There are so many ways for fans to engage with sport and matches than ever before. And obviously, Australia is a heavily sporting nation. So actually, what layers of interactivity or personalization can we add to the sports viewing experience? So really about kind of helping fans get in on the action and get closer to the games that they love. So we know that fans are actively seeking extra content when it comes to sport. So things like highlights, replays, athlete interviews, expert analysis. But we know that that means that their expectation of those things have changed. They're actually looking for personalized broadcasts. So being able to pick the different camera angle that they view the game from, real-time data visualizations, gamified virtual environments, and even customizable commentary. So really thinking about how we tailor that viewing experience to the fan. So for brands, this really represents an opportunity to up the geekiness factor and enhance engagement through in-depth analysis, seamless access, and even real-time insights as well. So it's not just about people watching sports, it's about them experiencing and engaging with the sport in a smarter, more immersive way. Again, a few examples of how that's come to life. So the first one is IBM Watson's partnership with Wimbledon, where they overlaid real-time data and graphics into the game. We've then got NBA AI, which is actually a voice-activated generative AI tool that is built into the NBA app, and it allows users to actively switch their viewing modes. So they can actively pick different viewing angles. They can pick which commentator they want to commentate the match for them, and really kind of tailor that viewing experience. And then the final example is from Apple, who have released their new extended reality headset, which actually enables you to be able to sit pitch side and view live sporting events. So if you can't make it to the stadium anymore, you can pop your headset on and you can be sat in the prime pitch side seats and enjoy the game nonetheless. So really here, it's about how can you think fan first and not brand first? How can you think about what fans want from that sports viewing experience and tailor your content to them? And could you, look at ways to provide that real-time analysis and updates and add to that viewing experience? So I apologize, that was very much a whistle-stop tour of 9 different trends. Hopefully you're all still awake and with us. But just to give you kind of a very top headline on each of the 9 trends. So the first one we spoke about was perfection rejection, which is all about the backlash to that perfectly curated social media post and giving consumers that real raw authenticity that they're craving. The second trend, factory reset, was all about kind of that desire to hold on to our youth and Aussies actively embracing cutting edge techniques and technology to regain and extend that youthful vitality. Then we had new nostalgia, which is all about a generation seeking comfort in the recent past. So romanticizing those cultural moments and media from their childhood, even if they only happened a decade ago, to give them that level of comfort and security. Then we had shop the show, which is all about kind of life becoming that shoppable experience and e-commerce intercepting entertainment. So really blurring the lines between binge watching and buying. Up next, we had age blending, which is all about waving goodbye to age-appropriate behaviors and embracing that intergenerational mashup. Then we had sentient sidekicks, which is all about our connection with digital entities and our relationship with AI, which goes from purely being a professional Q&A tool to actually becoming more of a companionship. Then we had the Great Divide, which is all about people being increasingly polarized on an array of topics, but brands who take a stand doing it with authenticity and consistency. Up next, we had Reinventing the Remix, which is a celebration of experimentation and really kind of remixing pop culture and embracing novelty and unexpected brand collaborations. And then finally, we had the AI arena, which is all about how AI and tech is revolutionizing how we experience sport and making sport viewing more interactive and personalized than ever before. So that was all 9 trends delivered at speed, but hopefully it gave you a bit of a taste of some of the things that are influencing the next year ahead. And we would love to work with you guys on activating some of these trends and even workshopping some of these trends for the brands that you work on as well. So very much open to exploring this further. And yeah, feel free to reach out to me or to anyone from the team if you'd love to have a follow-up session as well.
Remy, thank you so much for that. That was a lot in there.
I know, I told you, there's so much in there.
But it was like drinking out of a fire hydrant at times there, but it was great. And I thought there was just so many different bits in there that the members will get a lot out of. Thank you so much. Just members, quickly before you go, just a reminder, if you're in Cairns, let us know and be up there for the cocktail party. Plus, there's other special events happening. Let us know. Clean Up Australia Day. That's happening in a week's time, I think the 10th of March. Perth, we're in Perth in April. If anyone's interested in coming to NT for the leadership trip to the Northern Territory, that's going to be more information is going to be coming about that. And then shortly, we will be circulating the Independence Day videos from last week, where Matt Stanton, CEO of Channel 9, was there presenting his thoughts on leadership as well. Fantastic session. Finally, there is a Slido thing in the chat. Could you please fill that out before everyone goes? And if anyone missed it, there's a great story in the Australian today about independent agencies with Media Store and also Half Dome have contributed to. So check that out. And we've just put a copy onto the leadership page there. Thanks, guys. Have a great day, and just fill out that Slido. Remy, thank you so much, and Nine for your support. That was a great session. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.